That is a fantastic overview, Catherine. I remember meeting you months and months ago when I was working with the State Platform and Resolution Committee with Charla, and I was so struck by what you were doing because for the year previous to that, I've been talking to people, and all they complain about is these companies won't provide internet to people who are in sparsely populated areas because that last mile, the last 2 miles, the geography, the rock, whatever. And basically what they're saying is it's all about the shareholders. It's not about the people. It's not about the customers. So this is wonderful to hear it again. Mr. Badal, would you like to add something? I'm
yes,
so impressed.
Yeah, and let me add, do you hear me now? Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, let me add to what you were just saying, Claudia, that there are no villains here. I mean, these larger companies, CenturyLink and AT&T and Verizon and Frontier Communications, whatnot, they have their own business model, and they are also answerable to the New York Stock Exchange. They compete with other companies for investment dollars, and if they can't compete effectively for investment dollars, then they're out of business, or they're absorbed by another company. And yes, they go after the bigger bang for the buck. So it's a lot easier for CenturyLink or AT&T or whatever to invest in Denver, Colorado, than it is even in Albuquerque, let alone the East Mountain area or Moriarty. So this is why I think it was necessary for us, in order to reach a solution for the Navajo people and for Northwest New Mexico. It was essential for us to start our own phone company and break away from Wall Street. The need to satisfy Wall Street. We also had to break away from, in technology mode, break away from tradition. We're not a landline company, even though that is how we are registered at the FCC, because we acquired 700 miles of old copper, all last mile copper from Quest, now CenturyLink. We had to rebuild the network. We're one of the few companies in the country, telecom companies of the country, that is completely IP, Internet Protocol based. And so that we are flexible in that manner, that we can grow along as the cloud grows, our company can grow. We are one of 12 rural telephone companies and yet when it comes to breaking the digital divide in other rural areas, we are the most flexible, most able or agile, let's say, to expand into other areas. As an example, we are going to be starting this year in building fiber to the home to nearly all the homes in Sierra County. That's 300 miles away from our headquarters. We have picked up, as Catherine has mentioned, we have expanded our fixed wireless, our fiber to fixed wireless network outside of our own territory. And as Catherine mentioned, we are right now to the school, to 32 schools, and only a few of those schools are inside of our territory. The remainder are outside, and some outside of our territory. When Gallup-McKinley County schools, Grants, Cibola County schools, the Tohadjali BI school, Farmington Municipal schools, they all came to us and not the incumbent. There are 3 major incumbents providing service to Navajo lands and all northwestern New Mexico. And all of those 3 companies are national. None of those 3 companies have a wireless affiliate. It's all pretty much fiber backhaul and copper to last mile. So these schools have come to us and asked us if we could expand in their territory, expand to reach their students that don't have access to broadband. And the answer in most cases is, and in some cases, it's about 80% of their students outside of our territory who don't have access to broadband are within reach of our facilities. And part of, I'll say, So our magic sauce is the mix of technologies we use. But a part of our reason for success thus far is that even though we're dealing with a lot of mountainous areas, there's not a lot of trees on Navajo lands as there are in the East Mountains. And that is a further impediment that needs to be dealt with a technological answer appropriate for the landscape out there in these mountain areas. We are going to be, and just let me turn this off. We are going to be testing, and we probably will be one of the first in the country to test a microwave technology using a newly issued 2.5 gigahertz spectrum that sees through trees, that can shoot through trees. And we'll be one of the, like I say, one of the first in the country, companies in the country to use that. And we have an exclusive partnership with Navajo Technical University in demonstrating and testing that. And the demonstration is going to be on the large scale. And we're going to be providing the results of that test. We'll be rolling it out in about a month, and it'll be a 60-day trial. And we're going to be using the results of that test to share them with other tribes in the country. And the results of that test will also, our performance during that test will also, I think, help us look at solutions for areas like these mountains.
Well, that is wonderful news. We just have to use more innovative business models and innovative technologies to move forward. Thank you so much,
Indeed.
Mr. Badal. I really appreciate it. Senator Padilla, tell us what is going on at the legislation and what you've been doing these years that you've been working on it and what you see for the future.
Well, thank you, Claudia and John and Catherine. So you just heard from a company that is probably light years ahead of most other businesses in New Mexico. And it's not because this is one of my major swim lanes. I firmly believe that. Really anything else that might be happening in the state is going to be directly affected by the work of a company like Sacred Wind. We don't have a lot of companies like them, but the ones that we do, we need to do everything we can to help them do their work and to get out of their way, essentially. And, you know, we're state government. We are expected to know something about 9,000 topics, but we do need to rely on experts that know what they're doing in particular areas. This particular company, I'm a firm believer, and I've known John for about 20 years now, and Catherine for I guess at least 5 years now. And I've known her daughter over there for about 2 years. She came to one of my matanzas one year. And but the reason I mention this is, you know, we made 2017 the year of broadband here in New Mexico when I was chair of this committee the last time, or one of the last times. And we introduced about 77 bills on the topic. And we passed about 11 of them that year, 9 that were, I would say, meaningful and could actually do something to help in this area. I passed 3 of them myself. It was very painful. I will just quickly mention the 3 of them and then talk about the future so that you know what we're doing in the background to help, you know, the work that companies like Sacred Wind and others that are doing this. I mean, they're making huge investments here in New Mexico, and we really do need to help them. I typically don't stand up and rah-rah for a particular company, but this is one that I think is truly, I've personally toured the area. I've taken my committee out there to their site in Yatahe, and I went out to a chapter house, and we just saw the massive need and that they're fulfilling right now. But one of the bills was to place high-speed broadband and new technologies in the Local Infrastructure Act. So in 2017, I was able to get about, I think it was 11 bills signed that year. 3 of them were on broadband. You know, to me, as I mentioned when I introduced myself, broadband is a water line, it's a sidewalk, it's a road, it's an exit off the freeway, it's a lighting system, a sewer system, a water system. In this day and age, broadband brings economic development and job creation, telehealth and telemedicine, and higher education and other distance learning, as we all know right now, to our communities across the state. If we don't bring the broadband to those communities, we're just going to put them even further behind. And I just think we have such innovative organizations out there like a Sacred Wind. So that was one bill. Wound up, I was the Senate Majority Whip at the time for about 3 years. I angered the governor that year and the previous governor, and through another bill and another piece of something I was working on. And so that bill was vetoed, but I did take her to court 3 times and she did finally give up, and we do have that as a chaptered bill now. And it is on the books, and it's gonna, I think, mean a lot to our communities. The second bill was reforming, and this was a bill that Sacred Wind brought to me and that we worked on together, and a lot of other, I've worked with every telecom company in the state that wants to work with me, and I would say that's probably about 98% of them. But essentially, we all pay a fee. We wonder, what is that little fee on our telephone bill all the time? So we gave flexibility to the Public Regulation Commission to either collect a flat fee or a percentage to grow that fund from what was previously about an $18 million a year fund to $30 million a year. About 80% of the dollars going into that fund, it's called the Universal Service Fund, was going to dying technologies, what we call POTS lines, plain old telephone system lines. I think that's what the S stands for. Anyway, I thought we would flip the script on that, and the first $6 million that leaves that fund now has to be for broadband infrastructure and projects like what we're talking about today. Or 2/3 of the fund has to be related to broadband. It might actually be 75%, I can't remember right now. But now what you're seeing is investment in technologies that are going to take us forward rather than keep us in neutral where we are, in some places in New Mexico right now. So that was a huge step forward, I believe. The third bill was worked on for 13 years. I had it for 3. I felt like I was getting punched in the face repeatedly for 3 straight years on this bill. I see my good buddy Cliff Reese, who's worked in my office for several years over time, and he and I went through the pain of, and John and Catherine and many others. We had not rewritten our telecommunication laws in New Mexico since before the internet came along. I'm actually not making a joke, that's a true story. And so we were basically, which you hear the term, it's not just a catchphrase, we were really a flyover state for a lot of major investment that could have come into our state. So I renamed the bill my 3rd year, which was a great move. Cliff and I went round and round. I don't know if he agreed with me on this one, but we finally got it through, and we did work our butts off on that one. But to focus the legislation on how do we encourage and motivate and drive investment in New Mexico in the area of broadband technologies. And so we leveled the playing field in a lot of ways so that the state becomes more competitive, so that telecom companies can become more competitive and things of that nature. So now if you're a town manager, a mayor, a county commissioner, a leader of some sort of a political subdivision out in the state, and you want to bring broadband to your community, now you have these 3 major tools in your tool belt to develop proposals and things to bring dollars to your community or grow the dollars in your community to get some of this work done. And so I'm very proud of that work, but we have 9,000 other things we need to do. So can I know I went on for a while, Claudia, and I want to give everybody an opportunity. Can I talk about the future just a little bit?
Please, please, I'd love to hear it.
Okay, so just in brief, I have to get through an election in November, just like Claudia and others, and Representative Matthews and Mr. Pope and all the others that might be on the call here that are candidates, and I believe in the work that they are doing. But I do have some proposals that are going to really shake up the state even more in this area. One of them is to, again, we have rural telecommunication carriers, and you just heard from one that's operating as though, they are the world leaders in telecommunications, which is fantastic. And I don't have any doubt saying that. I don't feel bad saying that. I feel very good saying that. But would you believe that we treat this one company different from every other telecommunication companies in the state? I don't know why that is. I think there's a couple of reasons, but one of them is because of when they were founded and when the Rural Telecom Act was put into play. But they have a spend every couple of years that is almost 10 times as much as other rural telecom companies, simply to demonstrate to the Public Regulation Commission the work that they're doing. And quite frankly, I'm just not going to stand for that. I just think that's ridiculous. When you have a company here who's trying to do something for the Navajo communities in the state and other large portions of the state as well, why would we chop them off at the kneecaps and take 10 times the amount of cost to demonstrate their work to the Public Regulation Commission, which, by the way, I think it's very well known my position on the Public Regulation Commission. They are the most dysfunctional family in the state of New Mexico. I could tell you stories about those guys, but I won't. So what we need to do is we need to use those dollars for investment, for service delivery, for action, to get things done, to further proliferate the services that some of these companies are providing. And so that's one big thing that I intend to continue to sink my teeth into. The bill to get this done, believe it or not, 2 regular sessions ago, died with 13 seconds on the clock, if you can believe it. That's a true story. And I about fell on the floor when the session ended after having a fantastic session, creating the Early Childhood Education Department, massive CYFD reform. This one bill died with 13 seconds to go, and I could just, anyway. So we're going to try to get that done. Another one is we have other, so the large bill that I spoke of for 2017, the rewrite of all of our telecommunication laws. I know you're thinking I'm a Debbie Downer with the Public Regulation Commission is concerned, and we definitely need them. We just don't need them to be activists. We need them to be regulators. And so I'll stop beating up on them. However, the third massive bill from 17, I see Cliff laughing because he knows exactly what I'm talking about. We gave them 2 years to implement the laws related to that bill. It's a complete rewrite of our telecommunication laws, guys. It is as though they wrote the rules in the complete opposite intent of the law. And so I know it sounds funny and you couldn't make this up. If this were a comedy, I would make sure that wound up in the comedy show. So we're going to straighten that out again. And then the third piece, which I just taught you just real quick, is I have another massive piece. I like to invent things, innovate things, and try to make things more efficient in state government. So I am proposing a bill that will create what's called the Office of High-Speed Broadband Access and Expansion. That's a mouthful. But you remember, I'm the one that brought you ECECD, Early Childhood Education and Care Departments. I have these really long names. Eventually, we'll get the names right. But what I'd like that office to do is some of the things I just talked about. One is help communities use those 3 pieces of legislation and these other pieces that I spoke of to develop proposals, concepts, ideas, to bring a proposal together to raise the money to get the work done in their communities. That's the first thing. There'll be specialists in that office to work with those communities. Second is, would you believe that we manage ourselves in New Mexico? We're the 46th largest in population, but we're the 5th largest landmass. We have 17 different maps that I'm aware of. There probably are more in terms of where broadband is, how much it costs, what it's utilized, who has access, et cetera. I want to bring that into one map that we all kind of sheet of music, as they say, that we sing off of. That will help us with bringing dollars from the USDA, from the FCC, from any number of other organizations to maximize those other dollars that I just talked about. So that office will own the map, the official map of the state on broadband. The third thing that it'll do is it'll manage through bulk pricing with companies like a Sacred Wind or a CenturyLink or a Verizon or whoever that wants to sell broadband to the state, whether it be school districts or whatever that are managed as a result of state funds. And they will bring down dramatically the cost of broadband in New Mexico for public purposes. Would you believe today that we have school districts that pay I guess it's maybe 13 to 34 cents a meg, whereas we have other school districts that pay $63 a meg to bring broadband to their school districts. And so this office will own that process as well. And then the fifth, was that the fourth, I think the fourth or fifth thing will be managing of right-of-way access, permitting, working with other ways to reduce cost, et cetera. And so that's both a state function and a federal function, but this office will interface with the federal government where it needs to for tribal lands, this and that, to get that work done. I will stop talking now, Claudia, I promise. But I just have to say that we are on the verge of really moving our state forward, and we really need everyone's help to get that done. And I'm just so grateful that there's a company like a Sacred Wind and all the others that are making, doing yeoman's work out there, while at the same time, we're punching them right in the gut. And so I just think we need to stop doing that. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Senator. You've got a plan. I mean, this is really fantastic to hear. I've heard that we have decentralized water plans and a lot of other things in the state, and we need to bring it together. Completely agree. And I really like it that we're not going to be a flyover state anymore. I mean, look what's going on with COVID, and people are kind of fleeing the cities. A lot of baby boomers are retiring every day, and they're deciding where they're going to come and where they're going to live. And with the improvements that companies like Sacred Wind And with legislation and bills and business-friendly structures here, we're going to attract more business. So I want to talk, I want to take the first question. So innovative technology. Can you talk a little bit about airships and stratospheric infrastructure?
Is that to the senator or to me, Claudia?
Well, let's start with the senator, but if you have something, John, I would love to hear that as well.
Well, I'll be brief so that we can hear from everybody. Claudia, thank you for that question. I am aware literally of about 7 other new technologies that are available to bring broadband to our communities. And we just need to cut them loose and have them meet regulatory requirements, safety requirements, et cetera. But we need to help them get this done. From towers that can be placed in highly porous land topography areas, to drones that might literally encapsulate the entire state, to hot air balloons. Sky technology is one of them that I'm very impressed with. I think they've done a lot of, had them present to my committee a couple of weeks ago. To the technology that you heard from John from Sacred Wind a little while ago. And I think they also implemented something I want to see on Navajo lands with related to Microsoft and other partnership that they've brought into the state. So there are a number of ways to get this done. We just need to decide, we need to raise the money, and we need to have a plan. And so that's what you see me working on, but take it away, John.
Yeah, thank you. And Claudia, let me give you an answer that is really specific to the needs of your district. And just to explain, I think the challenge that the constituents, the broadband challenge that the constituents in your district face. You got your major incumbent is CenturyLink, and their a seat of operations is in Albuquerque. In order for you folks out there on the East Mountains, especially in the heavily treed areas of these mountains, you'll need cable. Fiber cable to run, through Tijeras Canyon and then east, north, west, south, and all that. And running up 14 to reach the different developments out there and communities out there. Then, say in the Paco area and San Pedro Estates area, where my brother and his family live, all utilities are underground. So now we're talking about tripling the cost of fiber by burying it instead of having it attached to poles. Safer, and it'll last longer when it's buried, but the upfront costs are higher. So if a company, any telecom company, even a cable company, that's also, that is also a cable TV company that's also in the broadband business, find it unaffordable to reach all of the homes in your areas, and not just in the Paco and San Pedro Estates area, but Sandia Park and everywhere else, all the way out to Moriarty. Okay, then if the fiber to the home doesn't work, you're going to have to look at an alternative, and the alternative is going to be microwave or satellite. And satellite to me is the last resort, okay, for various reasons. But it'll be microwave. All right, so with microwave, you have to get capacity from Albuquerque over the mountains to your area, or around the mountains by way of a series of towers. And I say over the mountains because we've been talking for about 2 years to the UNM's TV station about a tower that they intend to place on top of Sandia Peak, and that area is choked out with towers and microwave. There's not much space left. Okay, we've been talking to them about shooting, but we have to get the capacity from downtown Albuquerque over the mountain or around the mountain back to where you are. And then if you run into areas with heavy foliage, boom, we have a microwave problem. And one of the things that we're working on, as I mentioned, with this 2.5 gigahertz, that will resolve that issue. Hopefully, we will find out as a result of the test. But that Sky project that you mentioned, I think has a lot of potential. And what is exciting about the Sky project is we're not talking about a company bringing in a piece of its network, its nationwide network, to serve poor little New Mexico. This is a startup. This is a Bill Gates moment. You'll recall when Bill Gates started his software business in a garage in Albuquerque. Okay, this is a Bill Gates moment. I mean, this company has the potential to put New Mexico on the broadband map and grow from New Mexico. And so it is with Senator Padilla's help, our congressional delegation's help, the governor's help, to help this company grow. We have the opportunity here, a technological opportunity, a business, a financial opportunity, and a reputational opportunity to really have New Mexico stand tall in terms of rural broadband.
Thank you. Yeah, I've been really impressed. Actually, as John is saying, Sky is out of Roswell, New Mexico, but they're also working out of Moriarty Airport, which is very local. I'll try to find the link and put it in the chat. So I'd like to open it to questions. Sandy, you want to take it from here?
Well, yeah.